So the first live show that I mixed, this is going to go back a little further in time. So I'd been a studio engineer for a while, and things were pretty good, but there wasn't a lot of work in the area that I was in here at the time. There was I had a studio that had kicked off down on Music Row called Brett's Place at the time, and so I had done that for about a year, and that company was wanting to relocate me to Republic, Missouri, and I looked up Republic, Missouri, and they had one restaurant, and it was an Arby's, and I don't like Arby's really, and so I said thank you, no thank you, and I took their month severance, and I that night ended up down at a local bar in Nashville called Pub of Love, and I ran into the guy that had been my session guitar player at Brett's Place, who was an AA member, and he was drunk at the bar. And I said, wow, what are you doing here? He goes, well, I just got a gig. And I said, what kind of gig did you get? And he says, well, I'm going on the road with an artist tomorrow or in a couple weeks. And we're looking for a sound guy. And I said, yeah? And he goes, yeah. He goes, can you do live sound? And I said, well, I don't see why not. And he said, well, they're having interviews down at SIR tomorrow. Why don't you come down and sit in and see if you can get the gig, because it was all my old studio band. And I said, well, that sounds great. So I drank too much that night. I woke up the next day, and when I went to my office gig for the last time, and I was leaving there to go to SIR for the interview, I even put on 2 different black shoes, because I think I'm not going to tell you to go out, drink, and carry on and have a big time, but I was a little sleepy, for lack of a better term, that day. Anyway, went down to the gig, and I knew how everything kind of worked. I wrung out the monitors and showed the artist, talked to the artist and found out what they wanted and landed them the information and the sonic quality that they needed, and I got the gig. And I think I was as good a BS artist at the time as I was probably an engineer. And anyway, we flew out the next week to Vacaville, I'm not sure I'm saying that right, California, which is in the middle of nowhere, near San Bernardino. And the gig was 2 flatbed trucks that were parked next to each other that the band set up on. And it was a Yamaha M3000 console, I remember, analog desk, and just a junky PA that I'm sure some guy had brought in the back of some pickup trucks, whatever. And I remember it was a Dust Bowl. Like the console, you couldn't see the nomenclature on the console by showtime because it was just dust. It was a motocross festival with a country band playing, and so between it being in the desert with nothing but sand kicking up and dust anyway, add motorbikes and sand and dust kicking up, and literally you could move the sand off of the console. I felt bad for the sound company having to clean the console out, or wondered whether it had ever been cleaned out. Anyway, I learned real fast that there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and I was fortunate enough after that along my flight path to have some really great people take time to point some things out to me that I could improve upon, and that I had enough balls to be able to ask questions beyond my pride and learn along the way. My advice is, if you want to get into live sound, being a front of house or monitor engineer or any part of the live sound systems tech, go get you a monitor gig job at a rock club and keep it for a year. Learn how to tech gear, learn how to work the console that's in the house, learn how to put up with the guy that's got that gig. Work for nothing, but keep it for a year, because in a year you're going to learn how to manage all the different egos that cross that stage, how to tech gear that breaks, how to shut up, how to speak when you need to, how to learn from the other guy, and how to teach the guy that's coming in on your heels within a year. And the object of the keep it for a year mentality is you're going to have to put up with a lot of stuff. But after a year, you're going to be able to say, I worked for a year at somewhere. And when you go to get that road gig, they're going to see that you had this stick-to-itiveness, that you can put up with it, that people put up with you long enough for you to keep a gig. And if you don't have a college education, or you don't have music school background, or you didn't walk in on the coattails of somebody that gave you a job, that one line is the line that the guys that are hiring want to see that you have. This guy's going to stick with it. He is an investment opportunity for us. And that's the kind of stuff that makes you a really good family member down the road.